Digging Deeper Without the Coldface, the podcast that shares the incredible stories of the talented and passionate people in our industry. And it's now time for this week's episode of Digging Deeper Without the Coldface. It's your host, Jessica Rouse.
It's been a big week of everything at BHP and Mount Arthur for us at the Coalface. I had the opportunity to host the Muswellbrook Chamber of Commerce and Industry breakfast, where four guys from BHP gave an update on what was going on out at site in terms of the closure. Of course, BHP is closing its doors in 2030, which is not too far away, so closure plans are well and truly underway. So to give the business community a bit of an update, at the breakfast we had Darryl Messenger, who's the General Manager, Manager of Strategy and Closure Execution at Georgia Manning, Manager of Corporate Affairs Amanda Walker, and Manager of Transition Rob Kennelly. Now these guys, I went and sat them down to record an episode of the Digging Deeper Without the Coalface podcast, so I could share a lot of what was said at the breakfast with you guys, because not only is the closure of Mount Arthur massive for the Upper Hunter region, for the Muswellbrook community, it's massive for the industry on a whole. So here's my catch up with Darryl, Georgia, Amanda and Rob. Now guys, we've just come from the Muswellbrook Business Chamber breakfast, and I wanted to go back to the first question that I asked you all, because you all had very good answers about why you were there at the breakfast talking about the Mount Arthur closure. And I guess in this situation, why is it so important that you have, some of you have travelled from Perth for these particular jobs? Why is this particular project so crucial, do you think? We'll start with you, Darryl.
I've been down there for 16 years, spent a bit of time at MTW and AGL and now BHP. And look, the opportunity we have to set up our workforce for a transition to 2030 is fantastic. The work we're putting into it, and this is a really great opportunity to share that. So I'll take that really important.
Yeah. Now we'll move on to a Perth story.
I made a really big decision to come over here. It was a joint decision between me and my wife, and it really centered around two things. Like, you rarely get a chance to work on such a meaningful project that's going to set a precedent on how we do things. And also a project that's so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really drove me to come over here and give it a crack. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth doing. So
it is such a significant project. I mean, we might be in a more regional town, but it's just such a massive feat. The biggest mine, here in this region, employing so many people and closing. I remember when it was announced, we all went, "What? What do you mean?" And moving on to you ladies, why is this such a crucial project to be a part of?
Yeah, thanks. I think for me, I see it as an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to be part of a project that has the potential to be transformative for the region, for the state, and for the industry, and an opportunity to work in a team that can deliver a positive legacy from the situation in front of us. And so it's bigger, as Rob said, it's bigger than us.
For me, I'm really passionate about bringing people together to connect ideas. Part of my background was in Japan, and so that, crossing cultural boundaries and languages, I'd like to try and bring those same skills here about how do you bring BHP's perspectives and communities' perspectives together to really create a collaborative outcome and one that everyone can feel a part of and a way forward. And similar to my colleagues, I've moved here for the role as well. I've come down from Queensland, but I'm also originally from Perth. And I think also personally the lifestyle here is really great. I've been able to bring my hobby farm down, and so to be able to have a great lifestyle alongside doing really interesting work, I think it's one of the great things.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Darryl, everyone's job is important at Mount Arthur, but I feel like you would have a job that there would be a few things on site that would potentially keep you up at night. I mean, you've got to be across everything that's going on.
In terms of the overall operation, absolutely. Even if you look at the journey the site's been on over the last 5 years, from potential divestment through to the announcement of closure, and then 2.5 years of working through all the planning processes to actually get that approval, which we achieved on the 17th of April this year. That's a big journey for any team to go on. And keeping them focused on safety, keeping them focused on being productive is a big ask. So look, this is the next step of that journey. Now that we actually have that line in the sand that we will be closing and everything is in place, we just need to take the workforce on that journey safely.
Yeah. And how is that journey going?
Oh, look, it's going really well. We announced a suite of transition policies several years ago whilst we were still going through the approvals. So you'd expect that a few people might be a little reserved and think, oh, I'll just wait, I'll wait. But the take-up has actually been fantastic. Now, those policies include some free financial counselling or coaching for folks, so helping them set themselves up for a financial future beyond 2030. And a lot of folks have actually taken up that option. We also set up a process where people could get career coaching through a professional coaching agency. I think we've got nearly 400 people who have actually taken up that plan as well. So they see a career coach, they go through a relatively large questionnaire, then they have individual consults to help them identify what their pathway could be post-2030. And the policy I think we're most proud of is our education policy. So most operations will offer regular ongoing training as part of your role. What we're offering is a policy well beyond that. So any member of our team, if they want to study something, as long as it's through an RTO in Australia, we're actually supporting them. So we've got a whole suite of folks that are studying an enormous range of options that'll set them up beyond 2030. Everything from practical skills training. We've got some folks that want to run their own little digger and loader businesses post 2030, which a lot of folks that are seeking tertiary education. We've got MBAs, we've got some lawyers, and we've got some health practitioners in there at the moment. So, really, really positive uptake on the work.
That's great. I mean, Rob, there's so much to consider when you're talking about transitioning an entire mine site into closure. Obviously, there's this people side of it, but there's infrastructure, there's rehab, there's just so much going on.
Overall, the program's on track from a rehabilitation side of things. So the last 2 years have basically been record performance for rehab for us. And the next 2 years, we'll be looking for another 200 hectares of rehab. Majority of rehab is obviously going to happen post 2030. As far as the infrastructure side of things, Darryl, you're going to have to help me out here. When did we finalise the decommission of Bayswater plant? How long ago was that?
Last year.
Last year. So that's probably the biggest, in terms of infrastructure demo side of things, that's the biggest. Until 2030, won't see any material infrastructure come down anytime soon.
Yeah.
Listening for the last 12 months, the biggest thing we could have done for suppliers and contractors is get that mine approval out to 2030. So that gives certainty out to that length of time. Again, over the last 12 months, we've been holding a lot of contractor and supplier forums. We have seen probably various levels of attendance of those forums. So we probably really need to look at how we best engage with suppliers and contractors going forward. The way we're going to approach it starting early next year is take a more individual approach because similar to our workforce, people's businesses are very individual. You might be trying to scale a business. You might be around for 50 years or just starting your business. Whatever it is, it's a very individual discussion and that requires individual engagement. So what you can expect to see from us is more individual engagement on supplier and contractor issues in the new year.
Yeah, that's awesome because, I mean, again, a big part of BHP and mining in the region are those people who have the local family businesses. So it's great that you have been engaging with them because it would have been such an uncertain time for them the last couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. Especially in Muswellbrook, but small businesses are the backbone of the community. And we do need to do a better job in how we engage, again, on a more individualised basis. So we're really looking forward to listening to what our contractors and suppliers challenges they're facing to 2030.
Yeah.
But post-2030, as everyone's probably mentioned, one of the biggest things we can do is try to bring economic diversification on the mine. So that means post-mining land use stuff. So the things we're trying to repurpose our workshops for, the pumped hydro, that is the biggest lever we have to pull for contractors and suppliers is repurposing our mining land post-2030.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes, Georgia, when we talk about potential use of the land. Pumped hydro obviously is a project that was announced. Where are we up to with that?
So this is in partnership with Acciona Energía, who are a large European-based company, but with significant presence in Australia. We've spent the last 6 months conducting technical studies to assess whether the site could potentially be transformed into a pumped hydro facility. And we think that this could create up to around 1,000 construction jobs and support renewable energy generation for up to around 500,000 homes in New South Wales, which is a pretty exciting opportunity. We're working really hard on this at the moment, and we're hoping to have both businesses make a decision on the project's feasibility early in 2026. Also, I'd just like to update you, we're also looking at a new opportunity, which is around market testing for the opportunity to repurpose some of our mining infrastructure area. Now, this is really high quality infrastructure associated with our workshops and hard stand and admin buildings and processing facilities. So under our currently approved closure plan, these would be removed and the area rehabilitated into basically trees and grass. But we're really looking at the opportunity here to say what else could we do with these sites that would generate community economic development. So a couple of the things we're looking at, we're considering whether there's opportunities for advanced manufacturing, logistics, research and development, or even some sort of mixed use precinct. And we're really in the early stages of evaluating the opportunities here and really looking at the how we could bring these to market and test the capacity of the region. So I guess that's just two examples of the suite of projects that we're looking at. And our key message is that there's no single answer. We're looking at a range of land uses as alternates to the base closure plan, which is agricultural and ecological corridors. We're still going to deliver against our environmental commitments, but really looking at what else we can do to balance that social, economic and environmental outcome for the region.
Yeah. I mean, the opportunities are literally endless, aren't they?
So yes, there's a long list, but what we're doing is really working through it in a measured and planned fashion.
And Amanda, is this something that community will have the opportunity to have a say on as well?
Important that we are listening and we continue to listen and hear what the community's got to say. And last year in 2024, we undertook a really extensive community listening exercise. Hopefully many of your listeners participated. It was called our Closure Legacy Expectations Assessment. We heard from a range of people through interviews, some focus groups and a survey. More than 800 members of the community shared their voices with us through that process. And we heard two main things through that. Really that the visual amenity of the site and the environmental values are of great importance to people. But they're also equally interested in the economic opportunities that could arise from mine land reuse once we're no longer mining. One of the things we also heard through that community listening exercise is that people want to know, more factual information about what's happening at the closure. And they also want a voice and make sure their voices are heard.
Were there a few things from that particular survey that you have actively implemented?
We made this announcement back in April when we secured the extra 4 years of mining, is a commitment to a $30 million community fund to help support the Upper Hunter region as we prepare to close Mount Arthur Coal. And this will be a shared decision-making model with community. One thing we heard, as I said, is that people really want a say in what the future of the region looks like and want to be part of making those decisions. So we'll be looking to establish an independent board that will have community and business community, BHP and council representatives to help make decisions on how that $30 million is spent. And it's really going to be prioritised at economic diversification and those sorts of activities to help bring new businesses to the region, support existing businesses to think about diversification, a focus on supporting Indigenous businesses and economic empowerment, alongside some social programs, so potentially, mental health supports, homelessness.
It's a great initiative because, if we look at how much BHP and other mining companies put into the community, to simply take even one of those out leaves a massive gap when it comes to money for community groups, to charities, to local businesses and all of that sort of stuff.
We know that the closure of Mount Arthur Coal will have an impact on the community. We are a significant contributor. And so the commitment of $30 million by BHP is one part of the contribution and how we're hoping to support the region with this change. George has mentioned the land reuse opportunities we're exploring. That's another significant way that we can help generate ongoing value for the region, and also the support for our people. So the workforce support policies, the retraining, all those three things coming together are really how we're trying to deliver a holistic closure.
And the community is a big part of this whole closure project. You just mentioned retraining. Darryl, that's something that you've been really proactive on site, as you mentioned, is giving people the opportunity to explore another career or learn a new trade, because a lot of people would go, we weren't expecting this when it was first announced. So to have these options for them is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And we're very proud of those policies that we've launched. And 100% agree with what Amanda said. We're trying to manage this holistically. So it's not just the fund, which is going to be delivering the value. If we can have our team members, trained and contributing to other businesses post-closure, that's going to be a fantastic result.
Yeah. And something that has come up a lot in discussions in the local community, probably a lot of our listeners have asked the question as well. So BHP is leaving. Is there a possibility that mining could happen at this site again? Can we address that rumour?
Our closure provisions, the modification that we've actually agreed with the government is very explicit.
Yeah.
It essentially is a final landform that we've presented to the government, which requires us to backfill some of the voids and basically set up the area for either future mine land reuse or environmental rehabilitation.
Yeah.
So it is relatively set in stone.
Yeah.
So for all the mining engineers out there listening, like we are standing up to high walls, like we are making final high walls. We're on our last pre-strip now of overburden, and then essentially, that will be the final walls of the mine. And over the next couple of years, we'll progressively backfill some of the pits, flatten off all the dumps, and essentially create that final landform aligned to what our consent conditions are. So no, there'll be no coming back from what we're doing.
Yep. And I guess BHP will have a presence for a while in the town, in the community anyway. Post 2030, you've got rehab to do, you've got so much to do down the track, aside from just mining coal.
Yeah, that is correct. So the consent basically says mining or dirt movement will stop in June 30, 2030. The consent allows us to clean up all the coal on site, manage all the stockpiles and basically finish coal processing December 30, 2030. After that, we'll still have the bulk of our rehabilitation to do.
Yeah.
So the rehab's an interesting question. We're actually very heavily engaged in it at the moment. As Rob mentioned earlier, we'll be doing another 200 hectares of rehabilitation in the next 2 years. But post-2030, there'll still be another 80 million cubes of material to basically reshape around the site and then do all of the large rehabilitation tasks. So, yeah, there'll be a large rehabilitation team on site for at least 5 years. 2030.
Yeah. And the question about mining after BHP is just one thing that people have been asking about, but everyone has lots of questions, but you guys have actually created a hub where people could go and ask those questions, potentially find the answers where they're looking for, called Powering What's Next. So tell me about that.
Jump online and go to bhp.com/powering what's next. It's a new website we've set up where you can hear directly from BHP people on what's happening around the closure. We've got a number of conversations there, and it's a portal where you can submit questions and feedback as well. So we'll be able to either directly answer those questions, or if we see that there's a particular issue of interest to the community, we'll be able to develop some more materials to help answer those questions that are on people's minds.
And I guess to finish off, does everyone want to chuck their 2 cents in about the closure or a message they'd like everyone to sort of hear?
Really encourage everyone to start thinking about the $30 million fund and how that could be best used in the community. This is really aimed at the business community as well as broader community. And we can only do as well as the ideas that come forth. We need to hear from people about what their needs are so that the money can start to flow, hopefully early in the new year.
Thanks, Jess. I'd like to just reiterate that this is a great opportunity for the region and for New South Wales. And it's a complex challenge in front of us, but we are well positioned to deliver it. And we are proceeding with care as it is a really important challenge for the region, but it's also a great opportunity locally and for us to demonstrate what can be done.
For me, we don't take the decisions we make day to day lightly. We know the impact of closing this mine will have, and we know the severity of it, we know the impact, and we do not take any decisions that we make lightly. So,
Thank you, Jess. I guess I'll just finish off by saying thank you for the opportunity to share these stories with you. Thank you to all your listeners, and would certainly encourage anyone, if they have questions, to follow the links through the hub and send those through to us. I guess one word to finalise, our position on this is committed. We're committed to making sure we do this right.
Yeah, I hope everyone can hear and see how committed you are, because it's actually really refreshing to see that. We've seen all of the media and the stuff you've put out, which has been great, but I think this has been a really great opportunity to chat to you guys and see just how committed you are. So thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Digging Deeper with At the Coalface. You can download more episodes of the podcast on all your favourite podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also on YouTube, Amazon Music, all the usual places. Make sure you leave us a rating and a review. We'd love to hear what you thought. And if you do have a story idea or something you'd like us to talk about on the podcast, please send me an email, jess@thecoalface.net.au. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next time for another episode of Digging Deeper with At the Coalface.